The raw energy, the high drama, the winning moments, the shattered dreams. From the pole to the pit to the victory celebration, TNN takes you there live. The Busch Grand Nationals Mountain Dew 500, brought to you in part by Havoline Oil and Miller Genuine Draft. The Mountain Dew 500 today, 2 p.m. Eastern, live on TNN Motorsports.
Celebrities Off Stage, Wednesday on TNN.
The following is a special presentation on TNN, the Nashville Network.
In many ways, the Hickory Motor Speedway is the birthplace of NASCAR racing. Driving greats such as Junior Johnson, Ned Jarrett, and Dale Earnhardt have started their racing careers right here on this speedway. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Allen, and thanks so much for joining us. Happy Easter to you. We're here for stop number 6 of the Busch Grand National Series here on TNN. And this racetrack is now 40 years old. And Mark Garrow, she's an old lady in terms of racing, but she's undergone a facelift this year.
She went from dirt to asphalt in 1967, and it took until the spring of 1991 for this .363-mile racetrack to get another coat of asphalt. Now, this track is very, very fast. The drivers like it a whole lot. There is one little problem that we had in qualifying. There was some water seepage across the racetrack in Turn 4, but it doesn't appear that will be a problem during the race.
Well, there were torrential rains here all the way up to qualifying yesterday. Another factor we'll be watching today is the addition of 76 laps to the 200 laps that they usually run here. What impact will that have?
Well, of course, with the additional laps, that may make fuel an issue. Also, more traction with a better racetrack may make right-side tires an issue. Those are two things we're going to have to watch out for.
Well, for the 6th time this year, we have a different top qualifier. That man today is Jimmy Hensley, and he's on pit road with our Bill Hennessy.
Records fell last night in qualifying. 88.186 miles an hour, brand new track record for Jimmy Hensley. And Jimmy, did it surprise you to win the pole here last night?
Well, it did a little bit, Bill. We weren't the quickest car in practice, but I don't know what, when the sun went down, the guys had been running real quick. Looked like cars got a little bit loose, and I had a little push in practice, and it just kind of dialed it into qualifying, and we got a good lap in, so we were a little surprised.
You won at Martinsville, Virginia several weeks ago. Can you win again this afternoon here at Hickory?
Well, it'll be tough. Hickory hasn't, over the years, been one of my, better tracks as far as finishing on, but we're going to try anyway. We're starting in a good spot, and we're certainly going to try to keep it up, all day if we can.
Jimmy's always a tough competitor. Best of luck.
Thank you, Bill.
Jimmy Hensley, the pole sitter here at Hickory.
Today's telecast of the Mountain Dew 500 is being brought to you by New Havoline Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. By Eagle One Car Care Products. Eagle One is visual perfection. By Champion Batteries, when you can't wait to get started. And by Miller Genuine Draft. Cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold.
When this guy steps on it, you better hold on. Looks like Rusty's back in town. The Miller Genuine Draft Rusty Wallace stock car is tearing up tracks everywhere.
In America, your car is not just something you own. It's a part of your life. To give your car complete protection, Havoline is introducing new Havoline Formula 3 motor oil with not one but 3 kinds of protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. New Havoline Formula 3. Add more life to your car.
Without a doubt, serving our customers is the #1 priority we have here at Rose's. As you know, we have spent tons of money on technology and store design and layout and signage and lots of other things. But it all means absolutely nothing if we don't take care of our customers in a first-class manner. And you know about our Customer First program, under which individual associates are rewarded for giving outstanding customer service. We will have great customer service here at Rose's. That's our promise.
It's a beautiful day here in Hickory, and 30 drivers are set to go racing here in just a moment, but they're going to need a command to do it. Let's go trackside for the words to get today's Mountain Dew 500 underway.
Gentlemen, start your engines. We're racing.
Let's take a look at last week's highlights of the event in which Kenny Wallace won in our Havoline Racing Updates. Robert Presley tried to pull away from his outside pole position in the opening laps of the Spring 200, but Martinsville winner Jimmy Hensley caught and passed his fellow Olds driver on the 41st lap. The man on the march was Kenny Wallace, who quickly moved up from his 13th starting spot into the top 5. On lap 74, the Pontiac driver took the lead as the race stayed mostly green. The virtually incident-free event played to Wallace's advantage as he built up a sizable lead, and after just an hour and 9 minutes claimed his first career Grand National victory and his 5th straight top 10 finish. Tommy Houston came home second, Butch Miller was third, Hensley fourth, and rookie David Green fifth. In the Grand National standings, Wallace has a 136-point edge over Tommy Houston, with Jimmy Hensley third, Bobby Labonte fourth, and Todd Bodine fifth. Well, that's the way it was last week at Volusia County Speedway. 30 drivers are ready to go this afternoon. Let's take a look at the starting grid for today's Mountain Dew 500. Your 6th different pole sitter of the season, Jimmy Hensley in the number 25 Oldsmobile from Ridgeway, Virginia. Outside front row, Jeff Gordon, the reigning USAC midget champion. In the second row, it's Kenny Schrader making a rare Grand National appearance from Fenton, Missouri, and rookie Troy Beebe in one of his best qualifying efforts yet in the series. Row number 3, the defending race champion, Tommy Houston from here, Hickory, North Carolina. This is his home track. And Dave Resendiz from Assonet, Massachusetts. Row number 4, Chuck Bound, who won the second race here in Hickory last year from Portland, Oregon, and Doug Didero, a rookie from Ontario, Canada. And the 5th row, a rookie, Ed Ferree from Saxonburg, Pennsylvania, and Dale Jarrett, a past pole winner and race winner here at Hickory.
In row number 6, it's going to be Jeff Green, the rookie from Owensboro, Kentucky. Beside him, last week's winner, Kenny Wallace. In row number 7, rookie Tracy Leslie and Butch Miller. In row number 8, Bobby Daughter from Chicago, Illinois. Beside him, from Asheville, North Carolina, Robert Presley. Row number 9, Ernie Irvin and Ed Barrier. In row number 10, inside, from Gunnersville, Alabama, Mike Oliver. Beside him, Alabama neighbor, Steve Grissom.
Mark Martin will start 21st with Tom Peck outside of him from McConnellburg, Pennsylvania. Then it's a rookie, Jimmy Bound, Chuck Bound's brother, and Elton Sawyer. Row number 13 will feed Kenny Gregg, a local driver here from Hickory, late model stock driver. Todd Bodine from Chemung, New York will start 26th. The 27 starter, rookie Richard Lassiter. And Jeff Burton will start the car number 45. We'll explain that situation a little bit more in just a moment. Jimmy Spencer will get most of the seat time there. And the provisional starters for today's race, newlywed Bobby Labonte and Joe Nemechek.
Weather conditions today, 56 degrees, partly cloudy, although a lot of sunshine blanketing this .363-mile racetrack. Now the wind slight southwest, 10 to 15 degrees, humidity 47%, virtually no chance of rain. Just a great day for racing here in Hickory, North Carolina.
Track conditions, .363 miles, just a little bit over a third of a mile. The bankings in turns 1 and 2 are 14 degrees. In turns 3 and 4, they're 12 degrees. And the straightaways here are banked 8 degrees. And now, Mark, let's take a look at the drivers who did not make the race.
Tommy Ellis has not failed to make a race since he started his career in 1970. He will not be in the race today. Jack Ingram He's only missed 2 races in his whole NASCAR career. Make that now number 3. Also, Cecil Eunice, Jeff Burton, who will start the Spencer car, so he will get the points. But at the first yellow flag, he'll get out, and Spencer will take it the rest of the way. His brother, Ward Burton, also missed the race, as well as Mike Porter was another driver not in the race today. Also, Shauna Robinson and Karen Schultz, 2 young female drivers trying to get into this event, did not do it. Other drivers not making the Mountain Dew 500 included Robert Huffman, Gary Neese, Davey Johnson, and Mike Wallace. They were teammates in the Ted Condor operation. They both came here, did not make the show.
And in the battle of the car makes here for the Mountain Dew 500, Oldsmobile, the predominant make. Pontiacs have 7 in the field. There are 6 Buicks, 6 Chevrolets, and 2 Fords. And the breakout of the tires, 23 will be Goodyear mounted, 7 will be driving on Hoosiers. And also an important issue we need to bring up, too, because this is a new track service, the tire rule has been waived. Explain, Mark, how that's going to work today.
This situation is very simple. They can change 1 tire position per position. That means they can change them 4 at a time, 2 at a time, 1 at a time. Under caution they can do this, which is they can't normally do on the short tracks, and they must do it by lap 225. When they get to lap 225, no tire changing under yellow, or it's a 2-lap penalty.
The field is reforming for the start of this event. They've had the chance to warm the engines, to scrub any debris off of the tires. Everyone on this race is essentially starting on scuffed tires. They wanted to build some heat into them yesterday, but now the action is about to heat up as 30 drivers are ready to go racing here in Hickory, North Carolina. The green flag is in the hand of the starter, and we are just moments away from the start of today's Mountain Dew 500, and the field is under green. But caution is immediately on the Speedway. Caution on the Speedway after just 2 laps of racing. The entire field slows down as they shake out after the first few laps. Jimmy Hensley, as you saw, jumped out into the lead. Kenny Schrader up to 2nd. 3rd, Troy Beebe. 4th to Tommy Houston. 5th to Chuck Bounds. 6th to Dave Rezendes.
There's some debris on the racetrack in turn number 1, and we see some heavy smoke now from the Kenny Wallace car. He's in turn 1, and you can see the smoke billowing out from underneath that Pontiac. Trouble early for Kenny Wallace, last weekend's winner in Barberville, Florida.
And a driver who really expected to have a good run here today. It might not be serious. Last week in Volusia, we saw on Tommy Houston's car smoke coming out from a good bit of the last portion of the race, but he was able to move all the way up to 2nd, so we won't prejudge what the problem might be.
Tommy Houston's team had to look for an oil leak earlier this morning. They finally found it in a seal, but they were very worried about that. They spent an hour after the final practice, and they found it, so they almost had the same type of problem crop up again. And speaking of Tommy Houston, happy birthday to his crew chief son, Scott Houston, 26 years old today.
And here is the driver change that we were looking for on pit road. Jeff Burton will be climbing out of the number 45 car in the corner of your screen. He will be replaced by Jimmy Spencer. They practiced this driver change before. They didn't think they would lose a lap, but as it turns out, they will lose at least 1 lap as the field is back under green. Jimmy Hensley pulls off to the lead. The 36 car, Kenny Wallace, last week's winner, has been called on to pit road.
He's coming in because he's got a hole in the oil pan. A very bad break early on for Kenny Wallace as Jimmy Hensley comes up behind the car that just made the driver switch. Jimmy Spencer now in that machine. You see Wallace's car, a lot of smoke from underneath the hood of that Pontiac. Very tough break for Kenny Wallace.
The Busch Grand National points leader coming into this race, losing already 2 laps on pit road. The car in the front of your screen is not the race leader. That car number 45 is now being driven by Jimmy Spencer. They lost a lap, making the driver change just a moment ago under that first caution. The leader, Jimmy Hensley from Ridgeway, Virginia, second place presently, going to Kenny Wallace, third to Tommy Houston, fourth to Chuck Bond, and a good side-by-side battle for that position. Fifth on the Speedway is the Taco Bell machine of Troy Beebe, sixth to Jeff Gordon, seventh Dave Resendiz, eighth Ed Ferree, ninth Dale Jarrett, and 10th Doug Didero. Kenny Wallace continues with his problems on pit road, as right now Jimmy Hensley, as he has done in the past here in this track, has pulled off to big leads early on before, but he even admits that himself that there's a problem for him in the second half of the race. His handling sometimes goes away.
In the two races last year at Hickory, 11th and 19th place for Jimmy Hensley. Did not have any success whatsoever, but he's looking very strong early on in this event as he's built up a quick 5-car length lead over Ken Schrader.
As you can see, the field sorting itself out well here in the Speedway. It won't be long before lap traffic becomes a factor. At just a little over a third of a mile. This is short track racing at its best. It's always running in traffic. And we have trouble up in turn 4. Trouble in turn 4 as Jeff Gordon has shredded a left rear tire. And Dale Jarrett has also spun to a stop. And a great move by Mark Martin going up high into the speedy dry.
Dale Jarrett's car, you see him spinning around and coming back onto the racetrack. Jimmy Hensley snuck by. That will put Dale Jarrett down a lap. He started this race 10th. Thought he had a great chance to win. That's certainly going to hurt his chances today.
And as you can see in the replay, there is some speedy dry up in that area where there is moisture on the track, but that had nothing to do with that incident. That happened well in front of that. Dale Jarrett was one driver that thought he had an excellent chance of winning this race. And we'll be back with more action from the Mountain Dew 500, where we are under our second caution of the day. We've got a long way to go. 276 laps make up today's event. We'll be back with more in a moment.
At All Pro Auto Parts, performance means having the finest quality automotive products and first-class advice from professionals you can trust. At All Pro, performance is our most important part.
The only thing I like better than winning is winning big. Now, you can win big, too, at Western Steer.
You can get more of this free when you buy one of these. You'll get a free frequent buyer's card with your first purchase of a Dale Earnhardt's Winter Circle steak meal. Then, each time you select one of these steak specials, you're one lap closer to qualifying for free Earnhardt posters and caps and a free steak meal. Available at participating Western Steers, the official restaurant of America's #1 race team.
Most of our customers come to AutoZone for low prices and for parts they can replace themselves. But many people come because we speak their language. Things like duration and lift and compression ratios, stuff like that. Because a guy who's going to rebuild an engine, he won't buy parts from just anybody. And since AutoZone stocks complete engines, we know what makes them tick inside and out. Sure, we sell our best parts at our best prices every day. But if we know something that's going to help you do the job right, you get that free.
In America, your car doesn't just get you from here to there. It's a part of your life. To give your car complete protection, Havoline is introducing new Havoline Formula 3 motor oil with not one but 3 kinds of protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. New Havoline Formula 3. Add more life to your car.
Gear up for safe summer driving with Monroe Gasmatic shocks, now only $19.95 each at participating All-Pro Auto Parts stores. Sign up for the Monroe $25,000 Safe Money Sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Monroe and All-Pro, a winning combination.
It's the season premiere of The Texas Connection, an all-new set of shows hosted by Jerry Jeff Walker. On the 1-hour premiere, join Jerry Jeff and his special guests, Willie Nelson, and Chris Christopherson.
Heading for the train.
The Texas Connection Special, Saturday, April 13th at 10 Eastern on TNN, the Nashville Network.
Back at Hickory Motor Speedway, we're under our third caution of the day. As of 24 laps into this event, Jimmy Hensley has led from the outset with Ken Schrader second, Chuck Pound third, Dale Jarrett fourth. And let's go down to pit road for Bill Hennessy, who has an update on the second caution of the day.
For Kenny Wallace, the current Busch Grand National point leader, this is the major problem right here. The external oil filter became dislodged across the cross member of the frame right behind the radiator. It fell over into the crankshaft bolt and started rubbing a hole in it. You can see it right there. That little small hole put out all that smoke and all that oil, and it's really costing him valuable points here as well as track position at Hickory today.
Well, the field will circulate around here for another couple of laps. They'll be going back to green flag action in just a moment. Let's take a look at one of our most recent incidents on replay. This is our speed camera in turn 4, and there you see Jeff Gordon. This was our second caution of the day. Dale Jarrett and Gordon involved in that, and we've noticed in the last few moments that Dale Jarrett's problems may not be over.
No, they certainly aren't, because there appears to be a rub on the left rear of that race car. We also see a little bit of a mark on the right front of the race car that came from that first incident. A caution flag number 2 came out for a couple of cars getting out of shape and getting into the grass and mud area. Out in turn number 2, Todd Bodine, Troy Beebe. That brought out caution flag number 2. We've got a couple of laps from NASCAR, their indication, before we go back to green.
And Doug Didero is also showing some considerable sheet metal damage from an incident in that general portion of the track. One thing about Hickory Speedway, there is either asphalt and the yellow line. Some people will do anything to get some camera time. I talked to this fellow before the race, and he said, listen, I haven't been home in 4 months. If this is the way I'm going to get on TV, I'm willing to do it.
He works with the Jeff Hensley team. He's a fabricator. That is the Chuck Bound car, fabricator, and tire changer with that team.
And as we started to say just a moment ago, with the way Hickory is laid out, you've got the yellow line, which is the absolute end of the asphalt. Below that is dirt. You put 2 tires down there, you're going to lose traction.
You certainly are, and after they repaved this racetrack, they've tried to reseed the grass in that area. Right now, it has not come up. It hasn't had enough time to, so it's dirt. And as we mentioned at the top of the program, torrential rain here later in the week, very muddy down there, and it's getting thrown up on the racetrack. Right now, they're working on some of that in turn number 2, trying to blow the dirt and the mud, back to the inside of the racetrack. As we see Dale Jarrett on pit road, they're pulling out the sheet metal on the left rear of that car, and we also see crew chief John Urban making a major chassis adjustment to that race car. It appears that they were trying to loosen that race car up just a bit.
Some of the crews were concerned that with the addition of 76 laps to this event, the total race would be just a fraction over 100 miles an hour. And there was some question in certain drivers' minds about the ability to go the distance, as Robert Presley has been in and out of the pits twice during this yellow flag period. We get the signal from NASCAR scoring that we are going green once again in 1 lap. We've completed 29 laps of the 276 that will make up today's Mountain Dew 500. Let's go down to pit road and Bill Hennessy for a quick update.
Very quickly, Dale Jarrett came into the pits, obviously with some body damage on that car from an earlier skirmish. Robert Presley was in likewise, trying to get a fender off of one of his tires, and the Jimmy Bound car was in. His problems, he's overheating. The car's running 260 degrees. Keep your eye on that one. He may bring out a yellow.
Race leader Jimmy Hensley is down on the inside. The outside cars are a lap down. We're back under green for the 4th time today. Driver on the racetrack right now is Jimmy Hensley in that green and white number 45. He is trying to get his lap back on Jimmy Hensley, who has led from the outset.
Also separating the leader from the number 2 car, Ken Schrader. You see car number 34. That is Todd Bodine. So 2 lap cars between Ken Schrader and leader Jimmy Hensley. As you see, Jimmy Spencer right there on Hensley's rear dash trying to get that lap back. He lost in the driver switch with Jeff Burns.
This is short track racing at its best, never more than a few feet away from each other. As now there's Spencer. He's won this race in 1989, trying to get back on the lead lap and make himself a factor again. And the crowd is on its feet here at Hickory. Spencer's nickname is Mr. Excitement, and he's certainly living up to that as the moment. And he is back on the lead lap, but not by much.
Jimmy Hensley would very much like to keep Jimmy Spencer down a lap, because if he gets back on the lead lap, he could very well be a factor later on in this race. Right now, Spencer is clearly now in front of Hensley. He'd like to have a yellow flag right now so he can get back to the back of the field.
And there is Kenny Schrader moving up into the second position now, moving Todd Bodine to the outside of the track. Chuck Bound is coming with him, as is Tommy Houston, the defending race champion here at Hickory. And once you get up in the high group at this point in the race, you got a lot of hungry lions that want to get down low and put you down, but Bodine isn't backing off in the least.
There appears to be a very good second groove out there on the racetrack right now, which is very important. This track being repaved did bring a good second groove, and you can see Todd Bodine trying to fight off Ken Schrader from the high side. It's very difficult to do, but there is a groove there to work with, and Bodine hangs in there. He came into this race 6th in the point standings. He's been one of the most consistent cars early on in the campaign. Now Schrader gains the upper hand on the inside groove, and now Chuck Bound will go to work on Todd Bodine on the inside of the racetrack.
Well, Kenny Schrader is carrying sponsorship from Mother's Polishes and Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet. That deal came together when the two of them drove down to Darlington last week to test things. A little bit of conversation exchanged hands. If you're a car owner, you're always looking for sponsorship dollars. Look at Chuck Bound dive underneath Kenny Schrader. And Bound will take over the second position on lap 41.
He made that look awful easy. Bound finished 3rd and 1st in the 2 races last year at Hickory. That car running very well early on. He now sets his sights on Jimmy Hensley. Hensley's got a gap now of about 6 car lengths.
Chuck Bound, who sat on the pole for this race last year, led a good portion of the early section of the event. Then backed off and let Tommy Houston go by to save his tires, because you don't win the race in the first 100 laps. When it was time to push the button in the second half of the race, Tommy Houston just had the field covered, and there was nothing Chuck Bound could do. It looks like now he's trying to get to the front early and make his mark in this field.
Because they threw the tire rule out, there is no savings to be had. There's no real reason to save your tires now. You can change them all 4, so there's no point in saving them. We'll be back with more from the Mountain Dew 500 here in Hickory, North Carolina. Jimmy Hensley's the leader. Chuck Bound is 2nd. Ken Schrader is 3rd, followed by Tommy Houston.
It's your boss on the phone. He says, do you still work here or not?
I called the airline like you said, and sure, there's a later flight. Tomorrow.
When you just can't wait to get started, start with the Champion. Pound for pound, the most powerful automotive battery you can buy. Get your Champion now from these fine stores.
If motorcycling has seemed out of reach, maybe you just haven't reached for the right motorcycle. Legendary inline 4 performance is now within your reach. Introducing the Nighthawk 750, only from Honda.
In my considered opinion, it's okay to enjoy mowing one's lawn. Oh, for heaven's sake. In fact, my snapper significantly enhances my sense of well-being. Of course, my snapper dealer was kind enough to offer a 14-day money-back test drive. The good man really stands behind his machines. So if you're looking for emotional satisfaction, my advice to you is seek professional help. That's right. See your snapper dealer. Anything less just won't cut it.
Cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place.
All my dreams Miller Low 5.
We're back at the Mountain Dew 500 under our 4th caution of the day for a spin in turn 4 involving a number of cars. Well, let's take a look at it once again. And Dale Jarrett, as you can see already sideways, that's Mike Oliver in the number 28 car, and that racetrack is just flat blocked. That was a quick caution. We're back under green flag conditions here at lap number 52 with Jimmy Hensley still your race leader. continues to lead in the early portions of this event. Chuck Bown is on pit road. He was our second place car at the time. They are going to the left side of that machine. And he was off the pace quickly, Mark, on that restart.
Tough break. Tough, very tough break. Bound was running second at the time and looking like he was chasing down Jimmy Hensley. He has now gone down, I believe, one, maybe perhaps 2 laps to the leader, Jimmy Hensley. He'll have to fight back now, but it appears his shot for victory today has gone out the window. Tough break for him as Jimmy Hensley continues to lead this race on lap number 56.
And there is smoke coming from the second place car of Kenny Schrader. Schrader is back 7 cars behind the leader on the Speedway, who continues to be Jimmy Hensley, but Kenny Schrader is starting to have his problems too. Right at the moment, it doesn't seem to be a good time to be in a second position.
Schrader's team changed a motor earlier this morning. We also see the front grille work punched in on that Chevrolet. May be an overheating problem for Ken Schrader.
And joining us in the booth is a man who's gritted his teeth and groaned a little bit in the early going, Rusty Wallace, who is Kenny Wallace's car owner, who's presently sitting third in the Speedway, but is a number of laps down. Rusty, what does a car owner think when he sees the Grand National points leader duck onto pit road and the hood go up?
Well, it's just agony. It really is, because the car looked like it was running well. It ran over a piece of debris on the racetrack and punctured an oil filter. That's just something that doesn't have anything to do with the performance of the car, but it's a long year, and the crew chief looked like they made the right move to hurry up as long as many laps as they possibly can to try to get as many precious points as possible.
Let's check on pit road with Bill Hennessy with the Bounds. And we have a spin up in turn number 4. That is Chuck Bound. Chuck Bound has spun, bringing no caution. He is out of the racing group. And yes, now they do indeed wave the caution flag for the 5th time today. Chuck Bound cannot possibly get out of the trouble he's in without backing into the racing groove.
That makes him 3 laps down, and he was at an angle he just simply couldn't get the car around again to get back to the finish line ahead of Jimmy Hensley. So Chuck Bound, who was running very strong early on, looking like he was in the hunt for his first victory of 1991, has seen that all go out the boards.
So problems for the current Grand National points leader and the defending Grand National champion. Hickory has bit them here today so far.
The crew, led by Jeff Hensley, now going to his aid. And you see Bound and Kenny Wallace get together a little bit. Bound from behind, tapping Kenny and getting out of shape and spinning.
All right, let's check in the pits with Bill Hennessy.
Well, Jeff Hensley just took off, headed down for his car, parked on the inside of turn 4. It's typical Sunday afternoon short track racing action. The problem on Chuck Bound started when he missed a gear coming out of turn 4 on that last restart. In doing so, the gearbox had taken a dive. He came into the pits. Jeff Hensley went up under the car, put the car in 4th gear, and sent him back out. And obviously his day is coming to an end down there turn 4 right now.
Coming on to pit road is Jimmy Spencer. Now, an interesting story on the number 45 driver. They had to put Jeff Burton in the car as a real gesture at the start of the race. Well, Burton and Spencer are completely different sizes. They had to put a pillow behind Burton to get him cinched into the car. Spencer's back in. They're working on the right front portion of that machine. We're under our 5th caution of the day, 64 laps into this, and we'll be back with more action from the Mountain Dew 500 here in Hickory, North Carolina in a moment.
NASCAR, NHRA, karts, the world of outlaws. Go inside the exciting, colorful, and dangerous world of auto racing with NASCAR great Neil Bonnet. Get to know the winners. Sports Sundays and following Saturdays on TNN.
Homeowners, if you're tired of ordinary mowers that blow clippings everywhere and clumsy bagging mowers that need constant emptying, here's great news. It's the breakthrough mulching mower from Troy-Bilt, a revolutionary new kind of mower that ends bagging and raking forever. The Troy-Bilt mulcher has no discharge chute to spray clippings, no awkward bag to fill up and clog with grass. In fact, the mulching mower doesn't leave clippings at all. Whether you're cutting your lawn or mulching a blanket of fall leaves, the revolutionary blade and deck design vacuums clippings up to be cut and recut into tiny nitrogen-rich particles. 100% natural free fertilizer that's recycled directly into your lawn. The results are remarkable. A beautiful, super healthy lawn with less time and less work than ever before. For full details on the revolutionary Troy-Bilt mulching mower, call toll-free 1-800-638-9898. We'll send you a free Troy-Bilt mulching mower catalog by return first-class mail. So call 1-800-638-9898 now.
Continuing coverage of the Mountain Dew 500 on the Nashville Network is being brought to you by new Havoline Formula 3 motor oil. Add more life to your car. And one car which presently has no life is the Chuck Bound machine, which is being towed into the pits as the field is being given the signal 1 back to green. A tough break for the defending Grand National champion. Here's your top 5 as of 67 laps of the 276 that will make up this afternoon's race. Jimmy Hensley was your leader with Ken Schrader second. We're going to keep an eye on the problems that he was having there. We saw some smoking just before that latest caution. Safety cars off the speedway again. Jimmy Hensley leads the field once again as we go back to green here at Hickory.
Watch aspiring country music stars compete for cash and prizes, including appearances on Nashville Now and On Stage when Be a Star hits the airwaves this week on TNN.
Todd Bodine is valiantly trying to get his lap back with the Ernie Irvin machine also in that position, trying to gain some ground back, but Jimmy Hensley is in the preferred position, which is up front and on the inside of the speedway. Rusty Wallace, let's bring you back in here for a second. Let's talk about how difficult it is for drivers trying to get back down to the inside after a restart.
It's awful tough. You know, Jimmy's got the line right now, and there's some awful aggressive drivers trying to get their lap back. And I'll tell you, I know what it feels like. You're just so close to getting it back. And
Doug Guidero there has spun on the backstretch, but the field will stay green. As you can see, he's got a little bit of damage from an earlier incident. He's from Ontario, Canada, but Jimmy Hensley has got his hands full up front, trying to keep Bodine and Irvin a lap down. And we noticed a moment ago that a driver who's had some problems is back in the speedway.
Chuck Bound came back out, and he has gone back to pit road as we see things heat up again up front. Todd Bodine gaining the upper hand as we see Bound's car working on the left side again, working on that faulty transmission. Todd Bodine is back on the tail end of the lead lap. Ernie Irvin would like to get there as well. Jimmy Hensley is not fighting for position, but he's fighting to keep some very good cars a lap down.
And in the process could be using up his tires. This is an issue that we're watching very carefully this afternoon with the addition of 76 laps to the 200 they usually run.
That's certainly the case. We talked about that at the top of the show. And Rusty Wallace, what about that second groove? It's a little surprising just how strong it is.
Well, the second groove really looks good. Now it's getting hotter. I don't think these drivers have practiced in this warmer weather yet. They practiced this morning when it was a lot cooler. I'm seeing a lot of tire slippage, and they're starting to move up right now. The guy's really taking abuse, obviously, is Hensley. He's leading the race, and he's thinking, come on, guys, get off my rear end. But, hey, these guys want their laps back. We'll have to see how the tires do. I look like they're looking pretty good right now.
One area that we've seen the most trouble so far is off of turn 4. And Rusty, you've been watching the cars through there the last few laps. Does that appear to be the most difficult part of the speedway, or are these just circumstances that have been happening?
No, it looks like the most difficult part right now because the guys know, hey, I can't slip up too far. If I get up, I'm going to get that stuff, and I might get the wall. So they're being careful. They're kind of threading the needle coming off of turn 4, and that's making for some close driving.
Jimmy Hensley, the Virginia gentleman, was on the pole and has led all 78 laps of this afternoon's event so far. The hood is empty, and we have trouble up in turn number 2. Trouble in turn 2 as the caution is out on the speedway once again. That is the Tracy Leslie machine. Spun coming off of turn number 2. That is caution number 6 on the day.
Tracy Leslie, a tough break for him, the rookie driver, driving that Oldsmobile. Big break. That caution flag for Todd Bodine, Ernie Irvin, and Jimmy Spencer. Unofficially now we'll have them back on the lead lap. They'll be at the back end of the field, but they have now seen their hopes for victory renewed early on in this race.
Now we have also approached the window where if teams are going to come on to pit road and change tires, they're going to be doing it probably in the next 70 laps because that will give them plenty of time to work their way back through the field. And one driver who will come on to pit road once again is Kenny Wallace, and our booth commentator here, who's been kind enough to stop in, is watching this with intense interest.
Well, right now it looks like he doesn't have anything to lose. He's so many laps down. They're concentrating on getting the car handling correctly. They got to run a race here again. They're going to take a look at the tire wear, which looks good so far. Change tires, get back out there, maybe make a couple minor adjustments.
If you're just joining our broadcast, the front row for today's race was Jimmy Hensley and Jeff Gordon. And from the outset, it's been pretty much a Jimmy Hensley benefit. We'll be going back to green here in just a few moments. The next time by, they'll be giving the signal 1 to go.
Want to give a call to the third place car of Ed Ferree, the rookie from Pennsylvania. And just behind him, Butch Miller. Both of those cars are on Hoosier tires, and they've been steadily making their way to the front. They'll now line up on the back bumper of the second place car, Ken Schrader. And it looks like they're moving towards being a factor in this race. Right behind them is going to be another rookie driver, Jeff Green, then Steve Grissom, Elton Sawyer, also running strong early in this race. Right behind them, Tom Peck and the Robert Presley machine.
And Richard Lassiter, a rookie contender from Little Rock, Arkansas, is lined up next to Jimmy Hensley. And as you'll see on this restart, his car is showing all the battle scars of short track racing, NASCAR style. We're back under green on lap number 83. Jimmy Hensley, as he's done so often, is pulling away to a nice lead again. Let's go back to pit road and Bill Hennessy.
Hensley has been a trying afternoon so far. What are the problems with the Chuck Bell car?
Well, on the restart, the pin that crosses the shifter from first and second range to third and fourth range evidently is sheared off, because when it gets crossed up in gears and he can't get it back in high gears. Well, we're running, you know, Nescafe Classic Pontiac is running good. We're the fastest car here, but I don't know how many laps we're down. Yeah, it's just been the tail of our season so far, but we're not giving up. We're still running good.
You were a bit frustrated when the car sat down to the inside of turn 4 for so long. Then the entire team took off down there.
Well, I was pleased with the NASCAR officials, and all we needed was a push. And they wouldn't get out there. And then the record driver, after they hooked to us, it looked like seemed like he had all day to get us back to the pits, and he didn't. You know, we're still trying to win a championship, and every second counts. And it's just frustrating.
Jimmy Hensley, the race leader. The car in the second position is Jeff Gordon, the man who sat on the outside of the front row, but he is a lap down trying to get himself back in front of Hensley, as Jimmy Spencer and Todd Bodine did a few moments ago to put himself back in contention.
Early on in this race, 23 cars still left on the lead lap. As we mentioned before, that caution flag before, a blessing for Ernie Irvin, and the Jimmy Spencer cars are back in the lead lap, and they've got a shot to win this race now.
Now, there is so far nothing that Ken Schrader has been able to do. In fact, he has actually given up ground. Ed Ferree has moved into second place on the Speedway, the rookie contender. And we have trouble in the front straight. That's Jimmy Bounds spinning down to the inside of the Speedway at the start-finish line.
Not a good day for the Bounds. He will go down a lap. The yellow flag does not come out as Bound is trying to get out of the way and refire that race car without getting hit from the cars coming up from behind. He's able to do that, but now the yellow flag comes out as Jimmy Hensley, the leader, got by him again to put him down 2 laps. We're on lap number 92 of the Mountain Dew 500 here in Hickory, North Carolina, on a sun-drenched day with a capacity crowd here around this .363-mile racetrack. We're under caution for the 6th time, and we'll be back with more from Hickory, North Carolina. Jimmy Hensley's the leader. He's followed by Ed Ferree and Ken Schrader.
2, 3. Davey Allison believes. Mario and Michael Andretti believe. Don Prudhomme believes. You get out of a car what you put into it.
I stalk the wild gorilla, careful not to be noticed. He moves in and out of the light. But with 35mm 1 film from Polaroid, I can capture this majestic creature in low light, bright light, inside or out. With the same roll of 1 film, I can shoot under almost any conditions.
35mm 1 film, the simple choice from Polaroid.
Ah, the thrill of safari.
Next stop is the polar bear.
Wait!
She may not care that visual perfection took years to develop. She may not care that visual perfection, state-of-the-art technology, produces an unsurpassed, deep, rich, brilliant color. Well, Maybe she does. Visual perfection from Eagle One, the ultimate auto polish.
Going shopping today can really be frustrating. At Roses, we're dedicated to making shopping quick and easy and pleasant. You know, no other discount store has more stores closer to our friends and neighbors. Our stores are the right size, located in the best places, and carry the most wanted merchandise. Shopping at Roses will be convenient. That's our promise.
We're nearing the 100th lap mark of the Mountain Dew 500. Jimmy Hensley has led right from the start, but right there you see the number 2 car. 39-year-old Saxonburg, Pennsylvania rookie driver Ed Ferree has put on quite a show early on in this race. He rides number 2, just the lap car of Jeff Gordon, separating him from leader Jimmy Hensley. Let's go down and back down to pit road and Bill Hennessy.
On the 52 car, is he's got a right front tire which is going flat. In doing so, they're trying to keep him on the track. They didn't want him to go a lap down because we're getting ready to go back to the restart. On the 44 car, the body was in for a chassis adjustment to the right rear. They put more bite in that car to try to tighten him up.
Now, if you're just joining our broadcast, we mentioned at the top of the show that because this is a brand new track surface, NASCAR waived its tire change rule under caution. So he could have changed tires into the yellow, but just the way the green flag was going to come back out, he decided to go back out on the speedway, try to work his way around, stay on the lead lap until a caution comes out. Then he can come in and change tires without the 2-lap penalty, which is usually the case on the short tracks.
That was a very tough break for Butch Miller. He's just got to hang on and ride for a while. As you see, Jimmy Hensley, the leader, working out of turn number 4. Steve Grissom, who just moments ago was running in the top 10, riding in the 4th position, is on pit road. Tough break for him as Hensley continues to lead this race. There's the unsponsored Oldsmobile for Alabama driver Steve Grissom. A 4-time winner in 1990, has yet to visit victory lane so far in 1991.
And that will not help his fortunes any. They think they may have a sponsor. In talking to him before the race, he said, we can't really say anything. We don't want to jinx ourselves, but we definitely think that we've got something lined up that we may be able to announce by the middle of the week. Trouble on the number 45 car, the Jimmy Spencer machine, who had worked so hard to unlap himself. He has just pulled onto pit road and will go a lap down after all that work he did to get back in the lead lap. There's trouble there. They're looking down inside the car again. That is not a good sign. 107 laps are complete. So far, all 107 have been led by Jimmy Hensley.
Chris Hillman and the Desert Rose Band, Emmylou Harris, Vern Gosden, Jim and Jesse. That's the lineup when the American Music Shop kicks off its 2nd season, Saturday night on TNN.
Who so kindly gave the start of the race to Jeff Burton, who had failed to make the show, so that Jeff Burton could get the points toward the Grand National Championship. He's having serious trouble, and the man standing right by the car is Jeff Burton. No problems at all so far for Jimmy Hensley and Rusty Wallace, who has been joining us in the booth periodically here throughout this broadcast. You made a comment during the last break about how the drivers are running, and we'll be back to discuss the issue of aggressive driving here on the Speedway in just a moment from Hickory.
At All Pro Auto Parts, performance means having the finest quality automotive products and first-class advice from professionals you can trust. At All Pro, performance is our most important part.
The only thing I like better than winning is winning big. Now you can win big too at Western Steer.
You can get more of this free when you buy one of these. You'll get a free frequent buyer's card with your first purchase of a Dale Earnhardt's Winter Circle Steak Meal. Then each time you select one of these steak specials, you're 1 lap closer to qualifying for free Earnhardt posters and caps and a free steak meal. Available at participating Western Steers, the official restaurant of America's #1 race team.
Cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft. For those who you've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place.
I could spend all day here.
Wouldn't leave much time to fish.
Don't you have enough lures?
You never have enough lures.
Look at the price on this rod.
Well, don't let that one get away.
We need headlights.
We need a car stereo. They have really great sales here.
Come to Kmart for the Eagle Magna Liquid Crystal Fish Finder with Ultravision on sale.
Do I know where the deals are?
Deals, yes. Fish, no.
Gear up for safe summer driving with Monroe Gasmatic shocks, now only $19.95 each at participating All-Pro Auto Parts stores. Sign up for the Monroe $25,000 Safe Money Sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Monroe and All-Pro, a winning combination.
We're back at a green here at the Hickory Motor Speedway after a brief incident for Dave Resendiz and Todd Bodine. We'll show that to you in just a moment. But the leaderboard as they restarted was Jimmy Hensley, Ed Ferree, Kenny Schrader, and Jeff Green, a rookie. 2 rookies in the top 4, Mark. And here's a replay of that incident.
You see Resendiz spinning, Todd Bodine getting up into that speedy dry, and then clipping the wall with the right front of that car. There's Resendiz spinning down low, Bodine trying to avoid it, gets caught in that substance that was put down to dry up some of the water on the racetrack and hit the wall with the right front and puncture the right front tire.
And he came to the attention of his crew on pit road to replace a right front tire, which is all the way down on the rim. But Jimmy Hensley has had things pretty much his own way as we're approaching the halfway point of this event. The Ridgeway, Virginia driver who won at Martinsville a couple of weeks ago has had things exactly as he wanted them, except for a little pressure about 30 laps ago from Jimmy Spencer and Todd Bodine in their attempts to unlap themselves. He's been able to pretty much run out front and without trouble. Chuck Bound and Jeff Gordon are having a dandy battle. It is not for position on the speedway as they are laps down. There's a car spinning in turn 4, and there will be caution. That is Doug Didero, the Ontario, Canada driver who has moved south. Of that is caution number 9.
It comes out on lap number 121. The latest scoring we have from NASCAR, of course, Jimmy Hensley, the leader. Ed Ferree is second. Ken Schrader third. Jeff Green fourth. Tommy Houston is now moving up to the number 5 spot. Elton Sawyer just behind him. Then Mark Martin, Tom Peck, Bobby Dotter, Joe Nemechek, Troy Beebe. Then at lap 14, Dave Resendiz, Todd Bodine, Ernie Irvin, Tracy Leslie. That's the way the cars were in that rundown, followed by Mike Oliver and the Butch Miller machine. Let's go back downstairs to Bill Hennessy for an update from pit road.
In case you were wondering what that lengthy pit stop was all about for Steve Grissom, well, here it is. It's about a 298 item. It's called a rotor button off the top of the distributor. He had ignition problems. It actually broke the little brass tip off. It went away. He had no ignition. The engine cut off. He found himself in the pits. Interesting enough, Brian Frazier, the crew chief, was being assisted by former crew chief Steve Bird down there.
Another car that's on pit road that we talked about earlier who made a quick dive in and didn't do anything was Butch Miller. He has now taken on right side tires and will go back out. Todd Bodine was black flagged and brought onto pit road.
Doug Didero, the spin. Great move by Tracy Leslie to get away from that spinning race car. He dove quickly to the right and still got in that speedy drive, but was able to hold on to the race car. We see Butch Miller coming back onto pit road. The jack wrench that they make adjustments to the car is in the top of the car. You see the crewman going around now, popping it out. Miller did not go down a lap. He needed that caution. He got it.
And with the tire rule being waived, it looks like a serious incident, but when you're under caution, it really isn't. Rusty Wallace, when we saw Doug Didero sitting there facing traffic, what goes through a driver's mind when he sees the field coming at him?
Well, the tough part is, what do you do? I mean, you can't do nothing. I mean, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't do nothing. If you try to let the car move, you're going to get right. You're going to roll right in the path of the oncoming traffic, and that's the most dangerous thing to do is try to make a move. Let them pass you, then go ahead and get going.
One of the 2 Fords in the field of Mark Martin, which are 2 cars out of the stable of Bill Davis, the other being Jeff Gordon. Mark Martin has been given the black flag by NASCAR for smoking. He will have to come on to pit road to check what the problem is.
Tough break for Mark Martin earlier when I talked to him before this race. I said, how are you running after that final practice? He said, someplace between decent and incredible. I think I can win this thing.
Well, now he's more decent and in trouble because he'll be coming on to pit road as the crew goes to the attention of that Carolina Ford dealers. Ford will stay under caution here another few laps as there's some fluid down on the speedway that the safety crews will be paying attention to. Barton making a rare Grand National appearance. In fact, he is the only driver who has ever taken Ford to victory lane in the Busch Grand National Series.
His last victory, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, back there, and they were celebrating the 4th of July last year. You see that car sitting on pit road. It may go a lap down. Jimmy Hensley, the leader, now passes by him with the pace car, so that puts him down 1, and they now start to push it away. So a major problem for Mark Martin. When that caution flag came out, he was running very close to the front of the pack.
You know, drivers work so hard to maintain an even keel when there's trouble, but it's always the crew people that you can tell the reaction from, and it was pretty clear when the Martin car came to a stop that the problems were terminal.
I always think it's easier for a race driver. They can maybe grip that steering wheel and try to tear it out from the steering post, and the crew's got to run around and try to fix it.
And the wrench that was left in the car, it goes back in for another major adjustment. Rusty, as Butch Miller, who was having such a good run there, is now starting to have some problems.
Well, he's using all the caution flag periods to his advantage to try to get his car handling correctly. He's obviously not handling the way he wants to, so he's coming in every time. He's at the back of the pack, well, so why not come in?
As you take a look at what they were doing, what do you think his problem is?
It looks like his car is pushing real bad to me, and he's going downward on the right rear jack bolt to try to make the car turn better.
127 laps have been complete. We have been slowed 9 times for caution. Let's check back in on pit road.
Here's Wayne Day. Wayne, you're the crew chief on the 52 Butch Miller car, trying to stay in the same lap. A lot of problems, car running loose. You're trying to tighten it up?
No, it was a little bit tight. We're trying to loosen it up a little bit. We had a right front going down, too. So we got that off. We should be in pretty good shape now. We didn't lose a lap, so I think everything will be all right now.
Trying to get him dialed back in here to run for the money here at the Mountain Dew 500.
When it rains, it pours, but we'll be going back to green and with just 1 lap. As the field reforms for the restart, Jimmy Hensley is in just about the best possible position. He's got lapped cars down on the inside with him. The car that is in second place is Ed Ferree, and he is sitting all the way back in the 4th position on the inside lane. You see the jostling for position. The field has to be reformed by turn 3. Otherwise, they can make no further movement until the green flag falls. The safety car is back on pit road, and on lap 129, we'll go back to racing here in the Mountain Dew 500. For a man who hasn't run too well here in the last couple of races and really just kind of hangdogs about Hickory Speedway, Jimmy Hensley is really showing us something in the first half of this race.
You get the feeling he feels like he owes this track 1. Hensley has been out front from the drop of the green. Right now being chased by Jeff Gordon and Dave Resendiz. The second place car, Ed Ferree, has got all kinds of traffic separating him from Jimmy Hensley as Jeff Gordon attempts to get a lap back.
And he has done it. The USAC midget champion from 1990, all of 19 years old, is showing experience well beyond his years. He is used to a car that weighs 1,400 pounds at most if it's a sprint car, 950 if it's a midget. He's running 3,200 pounds around the Hickory Motor Speedway and pulling away as look at Hensley getting caught up in the high groove, and that's allowing a number of cars to get around him. And trouble up in pesky turn number 3 and 4. That's where we've seen all the action today.
Doug Didero and Jimmy Bound both involved in their second spins of the day. The field splits between the two. Didero from Ontario, Canada.
This is our 10th caution of the day, and we're not even to halfway yet in the Mountain Dew 500. Stay with us for the marathon from Hickory.
My feet are so sweaty and smelly.
Here's why. Your feet have more sweat glands than any other part of your body. They need super drying Odor Eaters foot powder. Look, you'd need 25 cans of talc to match the drying strength of just 1 Odor Eaters powder. It can absorb 25 times more wetness.
Wow, it even keeps my feet dry. And no more smell.
Odor Eaters foot powder from the makers of Odor Eaters insoles with the world's most powerful odor destroyer.
In my considered opinion, it's okay to enjoy mowing one's lawn. Oh, for heaven's sake. In fact, my snapper significantly enhances my sense of well-being. Of course, my snapper dealer was kind enough to offer a 14-day money-back test drive. The good man really stands behind his machines. So if you're looking for emotional satisfaction, my advice to you is seek professional help. That's right. See your snapper dealer. Anything less just won't cut it.
The time has finally come for the cordless power roller from Wagner. Now you control the flow of paint, so the Wagner power roller can cut jobs in half. Smoothly and evenly, it can cover areas twice as fast. And cleanup is a snap, so you can finish one job and do another. Get your hands on a real value, because the value of Wagner keeps on rolling.
Back here with 140 laps complete. We're just past halfway in the Mountain Dew 500. The race leader, as he has been from the drop of the green today, is Jimmy Hensley, but second place is held by surprising rookie Ed Furry. Up to third is Tommy Houston, the defending race champion. Fourth is Ken Schrader, but we've been watching smoking on Houston's car, and let's check in the pits for a report with Bill Hennessy.
Houston is now talking about Tommy's car. The guy's upstairs observing some smoke coming out from beneath it. What's the story on the man that's won so many times here?
Well, we're not real sure where the smoke's coming from. We think it's a small oil leak. The car's going to be right at the start of the race, and it's coming out of it. He's getting his high groove working.
That's the word from Scott Houston. He says his man's still dialed in.
Tommy Houston, the only man to start every single Busch Grand National race since the series was formed in 1982. And it's hard to believe after 138 laps, the speed is barely above the national speed limit.
61.675 miles per hour. In some states, it is below the speed limit. Jimmy Hensley, of course, the leader. The latest rundown, we have Ed Furry is second, Tommy Houston third, then Ken Schrader is fourth, fifth, Elton Sawyer, sixth, Jeff Green, seventh, Joe Nemechek, eighth, all the way up from the 29th spot, Bobby Labonte, ninth, Ernie Irvin, 10th, Tom Peck, then Butch Miller, Robert Presley, and a very good run so far for Jeff Gordon.
And for the first time after that last restart, Ed Furry had a clear racetrack and was able to close right up on Jimmy Hensley's bumper on that restart. And as you can see now, that is going to be a good battle on the Speedway, as Ed Furry is in the rarefied country of battling for the lead for the first time this season.
Furry is on the Hoosier tires. Hensley on the Goodyears as they work out of turn 4. Interesting battle shaping up mano a mano, not only with the drivers, but also with the tire companies at this juncture of the race.
Well, 23 teams have started on Goodyear tires today, 7 on Hoosier. There was a defection from Hoosier just before this race. Elton Sawyer went over to Goodyear as Ed Furry is saying, Jimmy, here I am. You're not going to have a clean run out front without a little bit of help.
If Ed Furry should win this race, there'll be a lot of people moving over to Hoosier tires. As we see a look at the stopwatches, that will tell you the truth in racing. You can say you're running well, but the stopwatch may say otherwise. We see Hensley has now moved out 4 car lengths over Furry. Furry getting loose a little bit, and he's fallen back just a bit. We're on lap 150. Jimmy Hensley's the leader, followed by Ed Furry, Tommy Houston, and Ken Schrader.
This week, Nashville Now stars Carl Perkins, Bo Diddley, Ricky Skaggs, Steve Warner, Mark O'Connor, Clint Black, and Starcatcher goes to the drawing for the winners of Premier's Cruise the Bahamas sweepstakes. Live this week on Nashville Now.
I guess I like things that go fast.
Experience life on the NASCAR circuit as you've never seen before. Call now and order Bill Elliott Racing to Victory and see what life is like for Bill Elliott in and out of Victory Lane. Meet the men responsible for the high technology and the marketing of the man known as $1 Million Bill.
It's $1 Million Bill from Dawsonville. Look out, the bird is on the loose again. He's got one thing on his mind, driving Coors number 9 down to Victory Lane at the end. Yes, it's $1 Million Bill from Dawsonville. Look out, the bird is on the loose again. And he
Elliott, racing to victory. Don't wait. Call now.
To order, call now 1-800-524-4000. That's 1-800-524-4000.
This shouldn't come as any great surprise, but we're back under caution here at the Mountain Dew 500. And this was a summary of the race up to this last caution. Jimmy Hensley has been your race leader from the outset. 9 cautions before this one for 35 laps. As we mentioned just a moment ago, the average race speed just a tick over 61 miles per hour. There are still 16 cars in the lead lap, according to NASCAR scoring. These are the 2 cars that are officially out of the event, Jimmy Spencer and Mark Martin.
Just before that caution flag, we saw Ed Free drop back from behind Jimmy Hensley. He started quickly to catch him. Mike Oliver on pit road, as well as the leader, Jimmy Hensley. He said he would get by the halfway mark and make a tire change. They've gone to the right side. They do have the option of changing all 4 tires. We'll see if they take themselves up on that option as his crew quickly goes to work. They change the right side tires for the pole sitter, Jimmy Hensley. He now falls out of the lead for the very first time this afternoon, and taking over the top spot is Pennsylvania rookie Ed Free.
And how about that? This is a driver that I don't think many people really gave a chance in today's race. We've still got a long way to go, but at the moment, the Pennsylvania driver is in front as we go back to green. Tires are now beginning to become an issue in this race, and let's check in for an update on pit road on that story with Bill Hennessy.
Well, Mark, it may not be an issue at all. These are the 2 tires that just came off of the Jimmy Hensley front-running car. They actually look like they're just scuffed in. No tire wear whatsoever. Actually, the surface may be to the advantage of the drivers on Goodyear.
This is the first leader we have seen come on to pit road for tires as Ed Free continues as our race leader. And what must be going through his mind? A rookie leading a nationally televised race on one of the toughest short tracks in the country. Rusty Wallace, you've been there.
Well, he's probably looking in his mirror right now, seeing one of Hickory's toughest drivers, Tommy Houston, coming up in his rear bumper. But tires don't look like they're a factor. It looks like Jimmy's car was pushing coming off of turn 4. He couldn't keep it low, and probably making a chassis adjustment right now. That's the reason he pitted, probably.
And we'll put a clock on our race leader the next time by, as Tommy Houston is sitting back there in second place, 4 car lengths behind our race leader. We'll tell you what that translates to on the stopwatch.
Ed Free, Rusty, is using a different groove than Tommy Houston. He's low on the racetrack. Houston very high.
Well, you just heard Tommy's son say Dad's working the top groove in, and he always runs higher here at Hickory. He looks like he keeps trying to lay more rubber down, get the car in rhythm to run high. That's his line around here. But on the other hand, Free, a rookie here, is keeping it on the bottom, and hey, it's anybody's game. Free's leading the thing right now. This is a new surface. Maybe the top groove won't work now.
Eldon Sawyer has been given the black flag by NASCAR to come on to pit road for consultation. 4 car lengths on the racetrack, and these speeds translates to 0.3 seconds. In fact, the entire field qualifying from 1st through 28th was less than a half a second difference. That's how competitive this Grand National Series is. 12 drivers went home, failing to qualify for today's race.
It was just amazing, the drivers that didn't make this race. Tommy Ellis, Jack Ingram, Jeff Burton. 12 guys had to go home, and 2 gals. And just very surprising, the qualifying last night here at Hickory.
167 laps have been completed. There's action back in the pack. Kenny Wallace is a number of laps down from earlier oil pan problems. And he has been running well since he's gotten those problems sorted out. The 5 car is Ed Barrier. The 72 is Tracy Leslie. The reason that Eldon Sawyer had to come onto pit road, he was dragging sheet metal. While he's there, he will change right side tires, but he will lose at least 2 laps. With laps around the speedway running at about 15 seconds, there's just no way not to lose ground on the racetrack. Eldon Sawyer, the Chesapeake, Virginia driver, who, as we mentioned, was on Hoosier tires through the first portion of the season, but just made the change back, and that was quite a loss because he had tested Hoosier tires here at Hickory for this race.
And he had been one of Hoosier Tires' best drivers to that point, winning a pole position at Martinsville, running fifth. He and Butch Miller had been carrying the Hoosier flag, the proudest, so to speak, early on. A tough break for Bob Newton when that team decided to go back to Goodyear tires.
And who tested tires for Goodyear at this track? The man sitting back in second place, the defending race champion, Tommy Houston. Let's go back to the pits, and Hensley's crew chief with Bill Hennessy.
Bobby King, crew chief on the car driven by Jimmy Hensley. Bobby, is everything going to your plan? Can he work himself back through all this traffic? Everything right now going real well. That Oldsmobile is doing a real good job, and I think we're going to be all right for the end. Lots of noise down here, but Bobby King says he thinks Jimmy Hensley will be okay to get that checkered flag.
Well, so far, Tommy Houston has been unable or unwilling to close in further on Ed Ferree. Continues leading this race. He has led for 25 laps. And a lot of people weren't expecting a rookie driver, any rookie driver, to be able to take the position.
There's Ferree working heavy traffic. Now sets his sights on Jeff Gordon, who's just getting out of the screen. Ernie Irvin is now on pit road as he's making an unscheduled pit stop on lap 176 of this Mountain Dew 500. The race length, 276 laps. 76 laps have been added to this event to make it an even 100 miles.
And folks, we just want to remind you that coverage of the Mountain Dew 500 on TNN is being brought to you by the more than 550 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the right parts at the right price. And we'll be back to see if a rookie can win the Mountain Dew 500 from Hickory in just a moment with 178 laps on the board.
Hey, I like to save money as much as the next guy. But what are the odds that there's going to be a sale on the parts you need when your car breaks down? Hey, it's not going to happen. That's why I go to AutoZone. I mean, sure, you could wait around for a couple weeks and maybe beat their price by a few pennies someplace else. But I don't want to wait for a sale when I need a part. Now, what more could you ask for?
I could spend all day here.
Wouldn't leave much time to fish.
Don't you have enough lures?
You can never have enough lures.
Look at the price on this rod.
Well, don't let that one get away.
We need headlights.
We need a car stereo.
They have really great sales here.
Come to Kmart for Bait-Mate Game Fish Set, specially designed to catch most types of fish. On sale.
Do I know where the deals are?
Deals, yes. Fish, no.
It's your boss on the phone. He says, do you still work here or not?
I called the airline like you said, and sure, there's a later flight. Tomorrow.
When you just can't wait to get started, start with the Champion. Pound for pound, the most powerful automotive battery you can buy. Get your Champion now from these fine stores.
You know, today our customers are getting pounded in their wallets like never before. At Rosie's, we are dedicated to helping. No other store does more for its customers. We have low prices, special sale events every week, double coupons, and our Golden Days Club for senior citizens. At Rosie's, we give our customers more ways to save every day. That's our promise.
Welcome back to Hickory, North Carolina. We're 185 laps into the 276 lap Mountain Dew 500. Ed Ferree, the rookie from Pennsylvania, continues to hold on to the #1 spot, but steaming up his rear view mirror is the Tommy Houston machine. Former track champion, the winner of the very first asphalt race here at Hickory. Third place, Ken Schrader. Fourth now, Jimmy Hensley. Fifth goes to Butch Miller. The rest of the cars on the lead lap, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, and Joe Nemechek.
And talk about a contrast in experience. Ed Ferree, who has almost no experience on this racetrack, is being chased by the man who has as much experience as anyone else. Tommy Houston has won Busch Grand National races here 7 times. In the late model sportsman days, he won countless number of races. This is his home speedway. He's run it on dirt. He ran it on asphalt when it was first paved in 1967. He loved this track being repaved. And here is now the battle for the lead in race traffic. Experience versus rookie.
Rusty Wallace, Ed Ferree had a lot of trouble on the inside of the racetrack with those lapped automobiles, and Houston working the outside seems to be able to handle them better. That's the reason for him taking the top spot.
That's right. Houston just trapped them down in the bottom, worked his ever so perfect top line in and passed him. Now we'll have to see who's the quickest car now, but Tommy's looking awful well.
Well, we mentioned a moment ago that Tommy Houston won the very first asphalt race here ever run, and we asked him about that.
It was a hobby division. It's what's called limited sportsman now, and I was in a 56 Ford 6-cylinder, and we had run that thing. We had won some of the dirt races, and then they paved the track, and we were afraid we wasn't going to be able to get around on the paved track. And it seemed like it just come to us. Seemed like that's what we really needed, was to be on the asphalt. And ever since then, you know, that's what we've stuck to, is asphalt racing. And, you know, it's a thrill, and it's a good feeling to know that they repaved it and the track feels just like it did back in the 60s. I mean, it all come right back to me the first couple laps that I was on this new surface.
Houston has won here 7 times. It's just 1 less than Jack Ingram. He would love to tie that record today. Between Ingram and Houston, they have won 15 of the 30 races that have been run. Everybody else adds up to 15. Tommy Ellis is one of the few drivers with multiple victories. So here's a man who loves the track. There is no quit by Ed Ferree.
No give up whatsoever. He's not intimidated by Tommy Houston. Took a shot to the inside, didn't work. He'll cool his heels for just a bit, reel Houston back in. The car you see just in front of Tommy Houston is Joe Nemechek. He is currently running 8th and trying to hang on to the lead lap, hoping now for a quick caution flag. But Nemechek, a second-year driver, the Rookie of the Year last year, has been very strong early on in the season. He started dead last in the 30th position.
The big move on any short track is to stay out of trouble, be as patient as you can, and generally you will move up through the field. Another driver that would dearly love to see some sponsorship, did show some skills last year on the short track. A 6th was his best finish in essentially his home track. And look at Houston slide all the way up into the loose stuff, and Ferree is back in front.
Very scary moment for Tommy Houston using that high groove. He got caught in the speedy dry, and Rusty, he did a great job to keep that car out of the wall.
Well, he did a real good job. He's coming off of turn 4, and he's using an awful high line, but you got to remember the speedy dry is coming off of turn 4. And like I said earlier in the broadcast, it's like threading a needle coming through there, and he got into it.
And if this race was last year's length, Ed Ferree would have won. We have just completed 200 laps. We've got 76 more to go here at Hickory.
I wonder if he's thinking about that.
I think right at the moment he's thinking about what Joe Nemechek is going to do, and Jeff Green in front of him, and Jeff Gordon in front of him. As we saw a few moments ago, Ferree was caught in lap traffic, couldn't decide whether to go high or low, and that's what allowed Houston to take the lead. Let's see if he learned anything from that short track experience of about 10 laps ago. Tommy Houston is beginning to close again. Is a little bit tail happy by Ferree that last time coming off in turn 4. And we see once again the 2 distinctly different grooves that Ferree and Houston are taking.
Rusty, we see in turn 2 Tommy Houston way up the racetrack. He can't do that in turn 4. I think he'd like to, but he can't.
I think he'd love to do that, and that's what almost got him in trouble. Now he's his car's obviously not working on the bottom the way he'd like to, but he likes that top groove, and he seems like he's really making some headway in it. He's just got to be careful coming off of turn 4, because it almost bit him a little while ago.
Ferree got together with Joe Nemechek, the car running 8th and in danger of going 1 lap down. They bumped and jammed in turn 2, that very same spot just a lap ago, as Ferree's car fishtails just a bit, and Houston closes in for the kill again.
And the fans here who love Tommy Houston, a local driver who has made good in the Grand National Series, have been on their feet ever since Houston slid up the groove in turn 4, exhorting their driver to get back in front. And we've got trouble on the front stretch. Doug Didero once again. And our race leader, Ed Ferree, at the start-finish line.
Ferree got out of the gas to miss the spinning Doug Didero. Tommy Houston tapped him, and that sent Ferree around, and we see a little bit of damage to the rear of that car. A very tough break for Ed Ferree, who was leading this race, as Doug Didero involved in his 3rd spin of the afternoon.
And here's a replay on it. Looks like he may have gotten the tap from Tommy Houston. It's awfully hard to tell. Maybe we can look at that one more time, because Didero was already in the wall and Ferree had lifted.
Tommy Houston definitely tapped the back bumper of Ed Ferree. Nothing intentional. Ferree's first reaction was to try to get off the gas and miss the wreck. Houston's car, a lot of damage to the front, and here's the replay again in turn 4. Didero is spun. Ferree gets off the gas. Houston hits him in the back, and you see now Ferree's car moving to the left and starting a slow, lazy spin that lasted about 200 yards. Houston, a lot of damage to the nose of that Buick, slides by to actually lead that lap. And I believe that's the first lap Houston has led all day.
Well, he led a few moments ago when he was able to get by Ferree, but had slid up the racetrack. But that has certainly damaged Ed Ferree's hopes of victory as he's on pit road. We've got 209 laps complete. We've been under caution 11 times in a dandy race so far. Tommy Houston, your leader. Butch Miller is second on the scoreboard.
The only thing I like better than winning is winning big. Now, you can win big, too, at Western Steer.
You can get more of this free when you buy one of these. You'll get a free frequent buyer's card with your first purchase of a Dale Earnhardt's Winter Circle steak meal. Then, each time you select one of these steak specials, you're one lap closer to qualifying for free Earnhardt posters and caps and a free steak meal. Available at participating Western Steers, the official restaurant of America's #1 race team.
I stalk the wild gorilla, careful not to be noticed. He moves in and out of the light. But with 35mm 1 film from Polaroid, I can capture this majestic creature in low light, bright light, inside or out. With the same roll 1 film, I can shoot under almost any conditions.
35mm 1 film, the simple choice from Polaroid.
Ah, the thrill of safari.
Next stop is the polar bear.
Wait!
In America, your car's not just something you own. It's a part of your life. To give your car complete protection, Havoline is introducing new Havoline Formula 3 motor oil with not 1 but 3 kinds of protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. New Havoline Formula 3. Add more life to your car.
Back here at the Mountain Dew 500, 213 laps are complete during this latest caution. Tommy Houston took advantage of it to come and get 4 tires. Let's check in on pit road very quickly with Bill Hennessy.
Scott Houston talking to his dad on the radio. 4 tires all the way around. Fuel, you can go the distance. You feel good?
Yeah, I feel pretty good now. I seen Butch Miller coming up, and he looked pretty stout. That's why we changed. I think we got him.
Here's a man that's won here before. Knows his way to victory lane.
It's hard to argue with that either. Tommy Houston has used great strategy, has taught his son well how to do it, but he can't work his way back up through the pack to get into the lead group as we go back to green flag with 214 laps on the board. Butch Miller, who came onto pit road for tires a while ago, had his wrench left in one of the wedge bolts, is our race leader. Sitting second, Jeff Gordon. Third, Joe Nemechek. Fourth, Jimmy Hensley. A dandy race is shaken out with the tire roll being waved.
Remember early in this race when Jeff Gordon fought tooth and nail to get his lap back from then leader Jimmy Hensley? We thought it might pay off for him, and it is. He's running second right behind Butch Miller. And Joe Nemechek, who was saved by that yellow flag from going down a lap, is currently running third, and Hensley is now moved up to the number 4th spot.
And let's check in with the leader's crew chief on pit road. Wayne Day here. We just got a yellow come on the track. Wayne, you gonna bring him in and try to get some tires? What's the story?
Well, I don't know right now. We got the 6 car, and I think 25 have come in and took on tires, so we might just have to sort of see what happens there. We might have to change left sides ourselves. We've only put on 2, so we can still put on left sides. We still got new left sides to go.
Let's get out of his way, because if he's a man's going to come in, he'll be coming in right now. Wayne Day, crew chief on the Butch Miller mount. They need tires. They can probably use some gas.
Well, he's got a 6-lap window left in which he can take tires, because after lap 225, no tire changes will be permitted under yellow on pit road without the 2-lap penalty, which is usually in effect. The latest caution came out for Troy Beebe spin up in turn 2. And here is another reason for the caution. You can see what happens when you get up in that speedy dry.
Elton Sawyer had to practically stop the car for it not to hit the wall. That is just how slick that area of the racetrack is. Dave Resendiz, the Massachusetts driver, a lot of damage to that Oldsmobile. You see a lot of smoke from the rear of the car.
And he was part of the incident over in turn 2 with Troy Beebe that precipitated the 12th caution of the afternoon. We've got 220 laps on the board. Rough math puts us with 56 yet to go as Resendiz comes on pit road, showing the scars of short track racing, Hickory style. The field will go back to green. Your leaderboard once again. Butch Miller on Hoosier Tires, the race leader. Jeff Gordon on Goodyear in second. Third, Joe Nemechek. Fourth to our pole sitter, Jimmy Hensley, who also took on tires. We're back under green.
Get an inside look at the stars of auto racing's most prestigious series, including NASCAR and NHRA drag racing, when Winners takes off Sports Sundays on TNN.
Flagman Mike Harwood has had a busy day, but in the second half of this race, after yellow fever early, we have seen many less cautions as the field has sorted itself out, and we have trouble at the start-finish line as the caution waves for the 13th time. It will be for Elton Sawyer. Sawyer, who had problems moments ago up in turn 4, has problems down the front straight.
A lot of traffic back there in the pack. Some jostling going on, and Elton Sawyer, the worse for the wear and tear there. As we're under caution again, lap 224. You can't change tires after lap 225, so for all intents and purposes, as Butch Miller comes by the line, tire changing is over under caution. They can still do it under green, but now if you do it under caution, it'll be a 2-lap penalty.
And you notice we haven't mentioned in the last few laps the Tommy Houston cars. Here is a replay of the incident. Cars getting on the binders because Elton Sawyer had already spun in front of them, and a nice job by the rest of the field to keep their cars under control. Tommy Houston was caught back in the pack on that latest restart, which is why we have not called his number in the last 15 laps.
I was just going to mention before that caution flag, Houston having a lot of trouble with the traffic. And we'll go back down and get a little more about the Hoosier tire situation with pit reporter Bill Hennessy.
Mark, as you well know, Goodyear and Hoosier face off each other on these short tracks every week. Here's Ray Hill, the competition director of the Busch Grand National Series. Ray, your man Butch Miller took on 2 tires earlier. What's the story? Did they look good? Can he go the distance?
Yeah, we feel like we could go the distance. We thought we could go the distance anyway, but they elected to change tires early. The tires look good, so we're set to go.
The safety car is back off the speedway again for the 13th time today, and Butch Miller leads the field back to green. We've got less than 50 laps to go on the Mountain Dew 500. start here. Rusty Wallace, you have been watching the strategy on tires unfold. If you were a betting man, who would you put your money on in the closing laps of this race?
I don't know. I tell you what, Jimmy Hensley is looking awful well. I've been watching him throughout the race. Every time we have a caution, he gets one step closer. He just needs some open ground to work himself forward.
How much is he able to save his tires, Butch Miller, as opposed now to Jimmy Hensley? Hensley's in deep traffic. He's fighting hard down the bottom of the racetrack. Miller's got a clear racetrack.
Well, Miller's got a clear racetrack, and when he can run his own line, that's definitely the best thing. And here's Jimmy's pack back there. But now let's look. We've got the 87 car. We've got Jimmy Hensley. We've got Free. We've got all of them trying to cycle their way back up to the front. We've got a lot of front end damage on this number 6 car, and that might be affecting here the aerodynamics of his car. I know that doesn't play a big effect here, but obviously playing something.
And Jimmy Hensley is desperately trying to get around Joe Nemechek, but the Lakeland Florida driver is more than a handful today. The experience he picked up in winning Rookie of the Year honors last year is serving him well this afternoon as he presently sits third.
Jimmy Hensley has no option but to battle him on the inside. Now the racetrack starts to free up just a bit. Now he might be able to work in another race groove as a lot of traffic is back there, and that's affecting Jimmy Hensley. Just behind him, Ed Ferree, who has led this race for a long time, and behind Ferree, of course, Tommy Houston. All those cars very quick, all looking for some running room to try to chase down leader Butch Miller.
And the question is, does Jeff Gordon really have anything left for the race leader? He has been backpedaling steadily ever since that green came out, and maybe more watching his mare to see who will be coming up on him. There are at least 2 cars between the second place Jeff Gordon and any threat as Troy Beebe, who's had a long day, comes to grief down below the line in turn number 2. That will trigger our 14th caution of the afternoon. Yellow fever at Hickory here on Easter.
When we went to Volusia County last week, we talked about a 16 caution flag race from the year before. We thought we might or might not see it again at Volusia County, but I don't think we thought we'd come to Hickory and see this many caution flags with a brand new racetrack that is in such great shape.
Troy Beebe is one of 10 rookies that started this race. 6 of them were official NASCAR Rookie of the Year contenders. In fact, Beebe qualified very well all the way up in the 4th position right next to Ken Schrader. Surprised a lot of people, but he's getting that education that so many rookies seem to pick up on these short tracks, particularly Hickory Speedway, which has had so many great drivers. Now, our current leaderboard is Butch Miller, the leader, Jeff Gordon, 2nd, Nemechek, 3rd, Hensley, 4th, and Ken Schrader, who came onto pit road 50 laps ago for right side tires, is up to 5th.
Behind him in position number 6, it's Ed Ferree, then Tommy Houston. They're still very much in this race. What a great job by Jeff Gordon this afternoon. He told me before this race, I'm just getting more comfortable. I'm getting at home with these race cars every single week out. I feel like I'm just getting more in tune with what this race car should feel like under race conditions. He's qualified real well, and he's put in a great race so far today. Jeff Gordon still very much in the hunt, although Butch Miller had pulled away under that long green flag period, long for this race, before we got back to that last caution. But he's still very much in the hunt, that number 2 spot. But Butch Miller looking very, very strong. And Rusty Wallace, this is a guy that you butted heads with many times before. He's a tough race driver.
That's right. And we got Tommy Houston coming into pits right now, so for some more adjustments. It looked like he's going to try another stab at it.
And we'll cover that in just a moment from Hickory.
NASCAR, NHRA, karts, the world of outlaws. Go inside the exciting, colorful, and dangerous world of auto racing with NASCAR great Neil Bonnet. Get to know the winners. Sports Sundays and following Saturdays on TNN.
I have a lot of early influences. Basically, I grew up listening to anything I could get my hands on, whether it was folk music or choral music or bluegrass music.
You gotta come from the heart. You want it to work. You got to say something.
I try to find songs that make me feel strong emotions, and hopefully that will help other people to feel the same things.
Where have you been? I'm just not myself when you're away. No, I'm just not myself when you're away.
It's been great for all of us as artists, too, you know. I mean, I feel like I grew up on the Nashville Network. They started when I started.
Butch Miller, one of the best short track racers in this country, spending a full season in the Grand National Series and showing the way so far. As we went to break a few moments ago, Tommy Houston had come onto pit road, and he went back there a second time as well, making some adjustments. Rusty Wallace, you watched those. What was he doing?
He keeps trying to get the car looser and looser. He's got his front end's damaged. The front end's open up awful lot. There's a lot of air packing up under the hood of that car, lifting the front end awful much. It's making the front end slide out. So he's trying to compensate with it by trying to loosen the rear of the car up. I'm afraid, though, he's kind of doomed, though. Looks like it's probably going to make the whole car go on a four-wheel skate.
Well, the field is reforming to go back to green flag action. We're less than a lap away. We are in lap number 242 right now. 276 make up the race. When they go green flag, they will have 33 laps to go. And we're back under green flag action once again for the 15th time this afternoon. Number 36 machine is second on the Speedway, poses the most serious threat to Jeff Gordon's opportunity to try to close in on race leader Butch Miller. Miller from Michigan, a strong driver on a strong performance today on Hoosier tires.
Miller got a great jump on that green flag. Jeff Gordon did not, and that allowed the lap car of Kenny Wallace to get in between them. And of course, that's good news for Butch Miller, bad news for Jeff Gordon. In the third spot, remember Joe Nemechek, and he's now in trouble as Jimmy Hensley goes to work on him. Hensley's got the spot. That's the blue car working out of turn 4 behind leader Butch Miller.
And he will set his sights on second place. Jeff Gordon goes flying up the racetrack into the wall and over in turn number 2. Trouble for the 19-year-old sensation, brings out the caution for the 15th time on lap 248.
Running second, Jeff Gordon pops the wall. His best race to date in Busch Grand National Series racing will come to a disappointing end.
But he showed a lot of spirit today and a lot of experience well beyond his tender youth as Troy Beebe's car is pushed back after a long day for the 4th fastest qualifier. And there's a replay. He just went flying up the racetrack, and once you get out of the groove, that's trouble.
One thing is certain, Jeff Gordon is a comer. He's going to be around this racing circuit for a long time. Just a very young driver, just 19 years of age. What do you think, Rusty Wallace? Butch Miller looks like he's holding all the cards right now. He's got 3 aces. He's maybe trying to draw up the bottom of the deck, get one more ace, and he could walk off with this victory.
Well, Butch is looking awful good right now. I got to tell you, he's a veteran short track racer. He's probably won more short track races than most in the last couple years. But I tell you what, now we've got Hensley in second place. He keeps working his way up. I would say that Kenny's going to get out of the way and let these 2 race right now. But I'll tell you what, the way these championships go, if you lose by 5 or 10 points and you know you gave a couple spots up, it'd kill you at the end. And I'm sure that's the reason these guys are 10 or 20 laps down and want to get every position they can. They're looking at the end of the year. They're not looking at this only race.
Tommy Houston back on pit road for more chassis adjustments. Ever since he had contact with the Ed Ferree machine coming off of turn 4, that car hasn't been quite right. Will be a few laps under caution as the wrecker is attaching itself to the Jeff Gordon machine. We have a Busch Grand National record for cautions in an event of 18 at Martinsville. Set back in 1984. There were 90 laps run under yellow at South Boston in 1983. According to our unofficial records, we're on our 15th caution now.
They got a shot. Yes, they do. They're close enough. They can smell it. They got a shot.
But I would have to think that Butch Miller is the one driver that would love to see long laps of green flag action. He has been able to pull off after every restart.
He just wants to keep these guys out of trouble. Let's just race. Let's try to get this thing finished up. The longer I go, it seems like he's getting better in touch with the racetrack. Now, the rest of these guys are going, come on, let's have some more cautions. Give me some more time to get caught up, get through this traffic.
Rook.
Jeff Green just on in off pit road. That's the rookie driver from Owensboro, Kentucky. Had a great run last week at Volusia County. Has run strong today, but isn't going to get a good finish. He had some problems early on, and he's been battling ever since to get back to a respectable finishing position. Butch Miller has won a race on this Busch Grand National Series, but you have to go back to Indianapolis, Indiana in 1986. for his lone victory on the Busch Grand National Series. And of course, Butch Miller is running this series this year for some redemption. He was in Winston Cup racing, driving for Travis Carter last year, was dropped with 6 races to go. He'd like to prove to everyone that he's a very good race driver, and he's going to use the Busch Grand National Series to vault himself back to the major leagues of NASCAR racing.
And we're going back to green at 1 lap. That will give us the opportunity to see if Jimmy Hensley has anything for our race leader. Jeff Gordon didn't after the tires had come back up to temperature. Hensley changed rubber around lap number 160, so this will be interesting to see the battle of tires and smoke billowing out of the Ed Barrier machine. He is up on the high side of that racetrack.
When they take the green flag, 22 laps to go in the Mountain Dew 500. We're back underway.
This is the battle we'd hoped we'd see all day near the end of this race. Butch Miller, the leader. Jimmy Hensley, your pole sitter, second. That's the battle for the top spot in the Mountain Dew 500.
Rusty, right now for Butch Miller, does he pick out a spot where he's running strong, or does he simply widen his race car out to try to block any attempt from Jimmy Hensley?
He just simply needs to widen his groove out, rear drive Hensley. That's all he can do right now. We're going to need a couple more laps to see how the two shake out, because they both got cool tires. When the tires heat up, we're going to find who's the better car.
Jimmy Hensley, who sacrificed the lead when he decided to take tires before the midpoint, and we've got trouble on the front stretch. A major incident on the front stretch involving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars. 8 cars, of which some are driving away. That'll bring out the caution again as Mike Harwood is wearing himself out.
Dale Jarrett's car, the worst for wear in that crash. That Pontiac severely damaged, sitting now at the end of the front straightaway. Mike Oliver, car number 28. There's the Nestle Crunch Pontiac of Dale Jarrett. A lot of front end damage. Tracy Leslie sitting in the middle of the front straightaway, also involved in that melee, as was Tom Peck. And up against the wall in turn number 1, Elton Sawyer. And Tommy Houston was also involved in that situation.
And the 96 car of Tom Peck, which is coming up pit road. Here is a replay. And that is a melee. Look at the impact up against the wall. That was Tom Peck sliding into Elton Sawyer. His car shows some of the worst damage besides the Dale Jarrett machine. The sheet metal is completely gone from the right side of that car, exposing the driver's cage. And here's a low angle shot of it. Just a little bump into the wall. As you can see, oh boy, I'm glad I'm not manning that camera. And then everything breaks loose right behind it as Leslie and Oliver went around.
Looks like a little fender bender in rush hour traffic, little chain reaction as Tracy Leslie walks away from that Detroit Gasket Oldsmobile. Very disappointed. He had a very solid run going this afternoon.
I'll tell you what, talk about a tough break for Tommy Houston now. He's thinking, okay, Kenny Wallace has had an oil filter problem earlier, punctured it. He's going to be a lot of laps down. I'm going to gain a bunch of points. I'm in second place. Hey, I got him covered. I might come out of this thing leading the points. Bam, it happens to me. It happens that way. I've been in many races where you think you got the guy and something happens to you. It's terrible.
You brought up a good point earlier. This race counts. Just because it's race 6 doesn't mean it counts any different than race 30. You can't afford to give up a single point if you can.
You can't afford to give up anything. I tell you what, it's a tough one nowadays in this type of racing. Everything counts.
And the NASCAR flagman has the red flag out. They are going to bring the field to a stop at the start-finish line. They are still consulting up top. They will hold the flag back for just a moment. There is a considerable amount of fluid around the track, and the red flag is indeed waved. This race will come to a stop on lap 261.
One thing NASCAR works very hard to do is to make sure we get green flag finishes. That is what the fans, this capacity crowd here at the Hickory Motor Speedway has come to see on this very sunny and now getting warmer Easter Sunday here in the Carolinas. So they want to make sure we can get this race run under green and give the drivers a chance that are on the lead lap, give them a fair shot at coming home.
And let's take a look at the incident once again. Cars sideways, trouble everywhere. Top of the screen, that's Elton Sawyer going up into the wall, and bam! That is Tom Peck. And that is a team that could ill afford to get in an incident. They are unsponsored, running on a shoestring. Here's our low-angle camera again. And take a look at how the guardrail flexes right there.
That's a shot. 3,200-pound car at better than 100 miles an hour. Tracy Leslie spinning in and out of the picture as we're under red flag conditions on lap 261 of this 276-lap race.
And if you're just joining our broadcast unofficially, that is our 16th caution period of the day. We are not that far from the Busch Grand National record of 18 yellows. The front stretch looks like a junkyard as Tommy Houston's car is being towed away. It's going to take moments for Tracy Leslie. There were so many cars involved that they've run out of records to drag them all off the speedway.
Rusty, would you rather get beat by an inch in a close finish than have what happened to Tommy Houston? You run strong all day, I think I can win it. You battle back, I think I can win it again, and then bam.
No, definitely. I'd rather beat the guy on the racetrack. I wouldn't like to have circumstances in the pits or on the racetrack or somebody else's problems they had cause a problem for me. But I tell you, that's racing. I've learned to say that word. I've bit my tongue a million times, but it's tough.
Is it more frustrating to get blown out, though, than lose by inches? Which is it?
Well, I tell you what, it's probably more frustrating to get blowed off the racetrack. I mean, a guy just run away from you, you know, because you're thinking, hey, this guy just cooked me, and that was it. But this one here is hard to take. This is a real peculiar situation setting up. I don't think I've ever seen NASCAR red flag a race like this, but I think there's been so many things happen on the racetrack. We're running out of records and everything out there now.
Well, we recall a race last year that Mark Garrow and I were at down at Volusia County Speedway, which is where we were last week, and where the caution just 16 times it flew, and they had to red flag the race for a very similar situation here. There was a tremendous amount of fluid dropped down on the speedway, and we're going to come back and continue to discuss the wild Mountain Dew 500 that we've got. We've got 17 cars still capable of running. We're under red flag.
In America, your car doesn't just get you from here to there. It's a part of your life. To give your car complete protection, Havoline is introducing new Havoline Formula 3 motor oil with not one but 3 kinds of protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. New Havoline Formula 3. Add more life to your car.
When this guy steps on it, you better hold on. Looks like Rusty's back in town. The Miller Genuine Draft Rusty Wallace stock car is tearing up tracks everywhere.
The only thing I like better than winning is winning big. Now, you can win big, too, at Western Steer.
You can get more of this free when you buy one of these. You'll get a free frequent buyer's card with your first purchase of a Dale Earnhardt's Winter Circle Steak Meal. Then each time you select one of these steak specials, you're one lap closer to qualifying for free Earnhardt posters and caps and a free steak meal. Available at participating Western Steers, the official restaurant of America's #1 race team.
It's your boss on the phone. He says, do you still work here or not?
I called the airline like you said, and sure, there's a later flight. Tomorrow.
When you just can't wait to get started, start with the Champion. Pound for pound, the most powerful automotive battery you can buy. Get your Champion now from these fine stores.
17 caution flags have waved here, as well as 1 red flag, and that's the condition we're under right now. It's been a wild affair in the front stretch just a few moments ago, and one of the drivers involved is with Bill Hennessy.
Tracy Leslie, a wild melee here on the front straightaway at Hickory. What a way to end your day, but you say you're going to get back in.
Well, I think just the tires are bent in on the frame is all. You know, we were going pretty good there at the last, after they brought the last green out, and I was a lap down, but we were still racing with cars for a position, so I moved up on the outside of the track and was running real good. Picked up a couple positions, and then we come off turn 4, you know, everybody just kind of moved up a little bit, and I got in that speedy dry just a little bit.
Come on.
But we're going to try again.
Come on, that's what his crewman says, and obviously they're going to try to get the car back in.
What you waiting for? Get running over here. 17 caution flags, 62 laps run under caution, and one thing we need to remind everyone, under red, you cannot work on the race cars. They must wait until NASCAR gives the signal for the pace car to once again move And when they do that, they can go back to work on the race car. Now, they can survey it now, see what the car may need, and be ready to jump in there real quick, but they can't work on the cars under the red flag condition.
You see, the backstretch with cars that are not littering the backstretch, those are the machines that are still running. Let's run down those cars that are still in the event, but we'll do that in a moment after we check in on pit road with Tommy Houston, who has had one of the wilder days of all the cars in the field today.
Tommy, lots of damage on your car. How did you see it?
Well, 27 car just got up in the wall, and it kind of pinched Chuck in there, and it turned his car down across the track. And I didn't really have any place to go on it, but, getting this close to the end of the race, it looks like a lot of those lap cars would have just backed up, wouldn't have raced us so hard and let us went on and raced. I mean, they was running 2 abreast, 3 abreast, and they wouldn't let you go. And, this deep into the race, they needed to let the 7 cars that's on the lead lap.
Well, they're going to work on the car right now since they refired the engines down here. Mark and Mark, looks like we're going to have quite a battle. Maybe Rusty can call who the winner's going to be.
Butch Miller is the leader. Jimmy Hensley is second. Joe Nemechek third. They've crossed the stripe. 262 laps will be complete. Ken Schrader is fourth. Fifth, Ed Ferree. Sixth, we haven't talked a whole lot about him, but a good run for Robert Presley. Then Bobby Labonte currently seventh. Those cars on the lead lap. 1 lap down, Ed Barrier and Todd Bodine. And 2 laps down, Bobby Dotter and Tom Peck.
And let's walk you through all the cars that are still on the Speedway. There are 17 cars running. A number of them have come back onto pit road for service that could not be done during that red flag period. The Chuck Bound machine showing those scars of some significant damage. It has been a very long day for the defending Busch Grand National champion. Now he has to drive through the smoke screen being laid down by the Ed Barrier engine, as if there hasn't been enough trouble for him today. And Barrier's car will be black flagged and brought into the pits. It'll be a few laps before we go back to green. So let's walk through all the cars that are still on the racetrack in order as they appear. This is not necessarily their running order. It is Butch Miller, followed by Jimmy Hensley. Third car in the Speedway is Joe Nemechek. Then it's Kenny Schrader, Ed Ferree, the rookie who led a good portion of this race. Trouble for Kenny Wallace earlier, but he is still out there and may not lose that many Grand National points. Daughter Robert Presley, Todd Bodine, newlywed Bobby Labonte, who was married Friday and said, hey, what better place to spend it than at a racetrack? That's what Tommy Houston told me to do. That's what he did when he got married to Martha. He's followed by Jeff Green, Ed Barrier, who comes back into the pits, Richard Lassiter, who has a part of a race car. Tom Peck comes on to pit road. Then Jeff Gordon, who had a broken tie rod, got that replaced. He's back out there. Steve Grissom is still running, and so is rookie contender Troy Beebe.
Still working on the Tommy Houston machine. Tom Peck's car on pit road. Looks like they took a can opener to it because you can see into the driver's compartment.
Let me tell you, these guys are points racing right now. The people in the infield, they got Tommy Houston's car jacked up so high in the air to clear the tires. They just want to log some laps. Give me some miles. That's all we need, guys.
The important thing is 1 lap, 2 laps may be enough to move him up 1 or 2 positions.
That's right.
And we may be going back to green. Well, we're going back to green flag at 1 lap. The question is, how long will we stay green? We had a long stretch from about lap 180 through 220 where we were under green action, but it hasn't been that way very often today.
Told you they had a shot at least to tie the record for caution flags. Number 17, 18's the record.
We are not crossing our fingers for that record to be tied, quite frankly, folks.
No, we're not cheering for it.
When we go back to green flag action at lap 266, we will have exactly 10 left in the Mountain Dew 500. It has been a wild Easter Sunday affair. We're back under racing with Butch Miller, your race leader.
Jimmy Hensley quickly closed in. Tommy Houston looked like he was getting ready to go back out onto the racetrack. Now he's moving back to his pit stall. The white car is Butch Miller. The blue one, Jimmy Hensley. They're battling for victory here in the Mountain Dew 500. 8 laps to go. Rusty, the rules of etiquette change when you get down to nitty-gritty time.
They sure do. I tell you what, we got a heck of a race going on between Jimmy Hensley and Butch Miller, and I couldn't really call the race. It's that tight right now.
And it's going to be a tough decision to decide who's going to be our Miller Genuine Draft pit crew of the race. There are a number of candidates for that. We'll have that for you right after the checkered flag and the winner's interview. The question is, who will the winner be? It could be any one of 4 cars. Butch Miller, Jimmy Hensley, third, Joe Nemechek, and right behind him, Kenny Schrader. 6 laps remaining in the Mountain Dew 500. 17 cautions have slowed the field. The action up front is sensational.
Miller got loose in turn 4. Hensley made a dart to the inside, but couldn't quite get a good run up out of the turn. Miller continues to hold on.
And that will be the battle for the victory unless something significant changes among the leaders, as they have pulled away from the battle for third place between Nemechek and Schrader. Just 4 circuits around this point. 363-mile Hickory Speedway. And Miller has increased that advantage ever so slightly. If Hensley has anything left, he has to show it now.
Hoosier Tires has won a pole position so far this year, but they haven't won a race. They may be about to get that first one, but the leaders are getting set to come on to some heavy traffic. Elton Sawyer, Troy Beebe, as they work out of turn 4, just 2 laps to go.
Butch Miller last week at Volusia County Speedway showed that his short track program was coming together. He finished 3rd there. He's presently in front. Hensley is going to take one final shot at him. It's white flag, 1 to go around Hickory. For Jimmy Hensley, it has to be now, but it is not to be. Butch Miller will win the Mountain Dew 500. Better yet say survive this race this afternoon. Hensley finishes 2nd. 3rd place goes to Joe Nemechek. 4th to Ken Schrader. 276 wild laps from Hickory, punctuated by 17 cautions.
Butch Miller's first victory on the Grand National Series since 1986 in Indianapolis. Give a call to their crew. They made some late race adjustments that certainly paved their way to victory.
And we will be back to talk to the race winner, Butch Miller, the Michigan native, when we return to the post-race ceremonies from the Mountain Dew 500 at the Hickory Motor Speedway.
When this guy steps on it, you better hold on. Looks like Rusty's back in town. The Miller Genuine Draft Rusty Wallace stock car is tearing up tracks everywhere.
In America, your car is not just something you own. It's a part of your life. To give your car complete protection, Havoline is introducing new Havoline Formula 3 motor oil with not 1 but 3 kinds of protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. New Havoline Formula 3. Add more life to your car.
Without a doubt, serving our customers is the #1 priority we have here at Rosie's. As you know, we have spent tons of money on technology and store design and layout and signage and lots of other things, but it all means absolutely nothing if we don't take care of our customers in a first-class manner. And you know about our Customer First program, under which individual associates are rewarded for giving outstanding customer service. We will have great customer service here at Rosie's. That's our promise.
It is fair to say that today's Mountain Dew 500 will not soon be forgotten by anybody here at the Hickory Motor Speedway. Let's go down to our Winner's Circle interview sponsored by Eagle One, and today's race winner, Butch Miller.
Well, Butch, you finally won over in the Busch Grand National Division of NASCAR.
Thank you very much. And first off, I'd like to welcome Bob Newton and Hoosier Tire back to Busch Grand National Racing. Heck of a tire. The day crew did a super job. I had a really pushy race car in the beginning. We stopped a few times, changed a couple tires, and towards the end, it really came through. The car was really handling it at the end. We didn't need the yellows, though.
Were you worried about all those mangled cars that were left on the racetrack in those final few laps?
I was worried more about the oil on the track and the oil dry. That stuff is so slick, you know, and Jimmy Hensley did a terrific job. I don't know why he didn't boot me out of the way. You know, I tell you, most of the guys would have. He's a real gentleman out there.
Thank you for your victory here. Okay, let's say it.
Kevin and Connie Burnett got married yesterday. They're from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. I couldn't make the wedding. I'm sorry, but congratulations.
And congratulations on your victory here at Hickory in the Mountain Dew 500. We'll be presenting the Crew Chief of the Race Award in just a moment.
And a nice gesture by a race winner who you'd think would be thinking about himself and his team. He's thinking about other folks as well. Nice man, Butch Miller, obviously a very competent race driver, and it should come as no surprise, although there were a number of very strong candidates for the award that are Miller Genuine Draft Pit Crew of the race. The race winner, Butch Miller's crew, and Wayne Day is the man in charge of that. And let's go back downstairs to Bill Hennessy.
Congratulations, Wayne Day, on being the recipient of the Miller Genuine Draft Pit Crew Award. You're the pit crew champion, and I tell you did a great job here calling the shots for Butch Miller this afternoon.
Well, we thank for the deal here, and we're just tickled to death. I want to thank all the crew. They did a good job, and Butch did a good job driving. Hoosier gave us a good tar. Day Enterprise and 31W did a good job. We just thank everybody. We're glad to be here.
Thank you, Wayne. I tell you what, sometimes when you get in the victory lane, you're almost speechless, and that's where Wayne is right now.
The unofficial top 10.
We are no longer speechless, although there have been opportunities during this race that we have just been in amazement at some of the predicaments these drivers have gotten themselves in.
It was a very unpredictable race, and it was more of a race, as Rusty, you mentioned earlier, was a race of survivorship. Top 10 unofficially. It is going to be Butch Miller, of course, the winner. Jimmy Hensley, another great job. He'll certainly move up in the point standings, close in on Kenny Wallace. Joe Nemechek, third. Ken Schrader was fourth. In the fifth spot, it was Ed Ferree. In the number 6 position, Robert Presley, then Bobby Labonte, Todd Bodine, Bobby Dotter, and Tom Peck finish out the top 10. They survived. There were a number of incidents, but they hung in there and got top 10 finishes. Says a lot for those drivers.
Well, there's always a little bit of rubbing on sheet metal, but you don't expect to see the kind of damage we saw. Thanks so much for joining us from the Hickory Motor Speedway today. Your winner once again, Butch Miller. For Mark Garrow and Bill Hennessy, this is Mark Allen. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Today's coverage of the Mountain Dew 500 on the Nashville Network has been brought to you by new Havoline Formula 3 motor oil. Add more life to your car. By Eagle One Car Care Products. Eagle One is visual perfection. By Champion Batteries, when you can't wait to get started. And by Miller Genuine Draft, cold filtered for real draft taste. So get out of the old, get into the cold.